morning, everyone. It's Laura here from Grade & Co. and I'm here today with December's Creative Maker box. So let's get started. So in your box you'll have your two snowmen and you'll have their coordinating pieces. So the smaller section of ones are for the female and the larger one is for the male. So you can separate them out. I'm just laying them out here and then I'm going to separate them into colors. So right now I'm going to start with everything that we need to stain. So in that would be all of my hearts and this big one here as well, and my two buttons. So I'm going to just set mine on some tape. We didn't send you a brush this time because there's just a bunch of small things, and sometimes when it's just small I end up painting them with a brush because it's easier. So I'm going to get the stain ones and then I'm going to find some stuff that's white. So this is orange, the carrots. I'm just going to set them off there. And then I've got my snowflakes, which I'll do at the same time when I do my white. These three pieces will be black along with the stand as well as this piece here for the hat. Before I move that, I'm just going to, and then this separates as well. I'm just going to mark for my hat because we're going to need to come in here and paint the top black and the bottom white. And so you want to kind of draw. Okay, so if you have a pen or a pencil, I don't have a pencil around here, so I'm just going to use a pen. I'm just going to draw a line that's kind of halfway in between that brim of the hat. And if you need to make sure that you did that right, put your brim over top, and if you see the line, then you obviously went too high or low, but that's being covered. So I know to do the black here and the white down here. So that's good. So I'm just going to set that there, and these ones will be white here too. This one will have to do some green just a little bit there, but I'll just set that off to the side. Right now I'm just going to work on the stain colors. So grab your package here and grab your stain. I'll just stand it up so I'm going to sit down. Usually don't have such a problem getting this open. There we go. And I'm just going to cut that top so it doesn't teeter on me. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to grab, I have one, hold on. There we go. I'm just going to grab a small brush, and if you didn't shake this up, I would do that first, but I'm just going to grab a little bit of stain. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to stain my pieces by just painting them. I'm still going to wipe it back because I want to make sure I even out that color, but so grab your paper towel and just do that. So I'm just going to sail through these pretty quick. Dry them off. Okay, so those ones are done. And I'm just gonna go wash my brush and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm gonna start the white. I'm going to put one more thing of tape on my table here. I think you guys can see there, yeah. And I'm just going to lay these guys down. I'm just going to give them a quick sand here. I'm going to put those there, and then I'm going to put my snowflakes here as well. So when we are painting white, the part that we're trying to avoid getting anything in is obviously the face part, because you definitely want to keep that detail. I'm just going to stay on this because I find it to be a little bit easier to keep that paint off the face. But yeah, because you want to keep that detail in the eyebrows. So we're going to be a little lighter and build this part different than, you know, here. This part usually can fill up. We can play with a little bit more paint. This area we need to play with a little less and do more coats. So, and if you're worried about if they're going to look different, remember, we're going to put a scarf here, so if they look just not quite the same, you're really not going to notice. So, so grab your white paint. Okay, so grab your white paint. I'm just going to probably use my lid. I like to use it if I can. Usually I have a tray here, but I didn't realize I had run out. So grab your foam wedge. Okay, so I'm going to start with some paint. I'm not going to blot that all off because I can use it to fill in the body part. So I'm going to start down here and get this going. That way I don't waste any of my paint. Trying to work the length of the project instead of chopping it into 3, because it's just makes it look a bit more even. And I've run out of paint, so I'm using all my paint down here, and then as I approach here I can lightly use up what I have in my sponge. So you just want to lightly tap that surface, really have no paint on your sponge whatsoever. As you approach, just if you're pushing a little harder here, just push a little less or just tap. And if you have to keep going over the spot, the more you go over, the more it applies. But I'm not really putting any amount of pressure like I am down here. See, as I get further and further up, I have less paint. I mean, if you do get some stuff in there, which it can happen, the odd time I'm not paying attention and I happen to press a little harder, you can just take like a X-Acto knife or something like that to help clean out those lines while it's still fresh. And your arm's going to get tired. Okay, so that's coat number 1, and we'll do that 2 more times. Now this one, same thing. Too much on and I didn't go all the way to the top, but that's fine. I'm gonna use this up first. I'd rather do it all on the bottom than over apply once I get to the top, because I still have too much on there. So now I can, so where I don't have to press so careful, I can push a little harder, but I really want to keep those eyebrows pretty clean. The eyes and these can be a little less forgiving because we're going to come in there and drop some black paint in them, but it's nice when you can kind of see that circle. Okay, so you can see where I've left off. Now I'm going to come in here and just blot a little so I can get my first coat to be just a bit more even with my bottom. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave that one for now. So I'm gonna come in here, do the same thing, because we want to make sure we see these words. So dip your paint, and then come in here and just gently tap that surface. And then you can do your snowflake at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. Now while that's drying, I'm going to come in here. Oops, did I bring my brush back? Nope, give me a second. Because we didn't need very much in your container, it's kind of hard sometimes to get it out of there. So you really only need to use a brush to do this part. You will have a popsicle stick in there, I believe, so you can use it to scrape out the paint. I would definitely leave it more for the orange because you'll need a sponge for that one, and the red, well, you can use red. I'll explain once I get there. So, but for here, we really only need these little legs. So if we go too low, too high, that's fine because we're going to come in there and cover them up. So that's all I'm doing for that part. And I'm sure one coat would be more than enough with the brush, but I will, guess I'll just see how heavy I put it on, but that's all we need to do on that piece. Okay, so I'm just gonna set it there and I'm just gonna wash out my brush because I don't want it to dry with paint on it. And then I'll come and look at my white pieces again. So give me just a sec. Okay, so she was first, so I'm gonna grab my sandpaper. She is dry. So definitely when you sand, make sure you wipe back, especially the detail where we don't want the paint to grab, because if there's any dust in there, it will want to hold on to the paint in there. So now I'm just gonna do it all over again. So I'll probably speed up the video so you don't have to watch it in real time, and then I'll come back when this part's done. Okay, so that's coat number 2, and it's getting better. Okay, bring this back, give him a sand. And give him a wipe. And then do the same. So you'll find with the face, because you can't press as hard as you do down here, is that sometimes you can see those wood grains a bit more. So I'm just trying to work into the areas where there is no detail, and then I can kind of even that out. So I'm just kind of using the tip of my sponge and trying to push it in a little bit more. But that's looking better. Okay, so now these guys, that I might, I mean, I can still see the line, but I may have just pushed just a smidgen. There we go, on that one. Okay, so those two are there. Okay, I'm just gonna close this up this time. Okay, so let's go back to this guy. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of dark. I usually just stress it back anyways, but I'm gonna do one more. I've got the paint, so I'm just gonna go do that one coat. And then maybe while we're waiting, I'll do the orange ones. Okay, so I'll be back, and yeah, most likely we'll do the orange ones. Okay, be right back. Okay, so let's do the orange. I'm just gonna do them here. I'll just be careful not to touch my snowflakes. I'm just gonna find a sponge that I've had in the past, some bits and pieces, so I can continue on. Now, like I said, this one is very little bit in there. Now, this stuff's a bit redder than some of the other colors, so if you go like that, you should be able to get out what you need. And then just light details, or lightly pressed too, because you don't want to fill in those details on the carrot. Be able to see those. All right, so I'll give those a minute, and we'll use the rest of that up. And I'm going to give that just a few more minutes. So while I'm waiting, just to pass some time, I'm going to sand my stained ones because they're dry. So I might as well just get those out of the way. Now I want mine really distressed. I want this to look very worn. So you spend what you need to do what you want them to be. Those ones are done for now, so I'm just gonna get rid of that, and let's go do the last one here. Okay, so she is done. Now I'll do this one again. Sometimes changing the direction in which you're painting this, at least when you are doing light layers, can help fill in some of those grains that don't want to fill. Okay, so he's done. All right, one more coat on each of these. All right, so, and then just the snowflakes, and then we're done on our white. Okay, that part's done. Okay, so the only, oh, let's finish the orange first since it's out. Just take the rest. Whoops. Okay, the orange is done. So the only other color we have mainly is black because the snow and the red are just light accent colors. So for the stand, we don't have to do both layers because you will be gluing them together. I have checked all of these, but you can just double check and make sure that it fits in there. So I'm probably, usually I'll put, no, this one fits pretty good. So you shouldn't have to sand anything off, but if you're feeling a little tight, you can just gently sand across the back here on that notch. So just grab one. We don't even need that. And we're gonna do the black pieces. So take your sponge and grab your black. Actually, it's in black, it's cast iron, so. Oh, and then you're also going to need the top of him over there, but I'm just gonna give him a second to dry off while we do this. Just gonna blot a little bit of that off, and then, oops, see, got my finger in the orange. Not sure where. That's okay. It'll cover up. Oh, I know, probably right on the towel. Be careful not to get any paint in the notch area there, because otherwise you might have a difficult time getting your piece to go in there. Okay, so bring this guy back. All right, so same thing with the white, but it's a little bit more forgiving, so don't touch your dirty hands on there. Just take it as close to that line as you can without going into the white. And you don't even have to come down here because, well, that's gonna cover it anyway. So just feather it off a little bit. And if you're unsure if you've gone enough, you can just gently take this piece and lay it down, and you shouldn't see any bare wood there. So that part is fine there. Yeah, so right now that's gonna dry, and then I don't think you need to watch me do that 3 times. Well, actually not 3, probably just 2. So I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna do another coat of this off camera. And then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna do some rosy cheeks, and we're gonna do the eyes, and yeah, and then we'll have to let those dry for a bit, especially the eyes, and then we'll put it all together and do some snow. Okay, so I will see you in a bit. Okay, see you soon. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm going to do the cheeks, and then we're going to do the eyes. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna give a quick sand. Actually, I'm gonna sand a little bit more. I really wanna wear down my edges, so I'm just gonna do that now. as well do both. Okay, so where's my brush? Okay, so we're going to use the red. Just find a clean part of my paper towel. I'm just going to get rid of all this. Now we really need ever so slightly. There's more than enough in here for sure. So you want a stiff brush, stencil brush, something like that would be really good for this because it's easier to do a nice round. It's easy to work the paint into the wood when it's round instead of something that is more flat. So I've just dumped some on there. That is more than enough. I'm gonna put paint on my stencil brush and then I'm gonna take it all off. When you think you've got it all off, then take off some more because you really don't want a whole lot. So I did my rosy cheeks just around here by the top of the mouth, and I'm just like hardly any is coming out of my brush, but the more you push and the more you swirl it, it eventually just starts to pigment the wood, and that's all you really want. And I'm only just doing little swirls and working it. Because that's really all you need to give them just a little rosy cheeks. Just kind of balance the color, make sure they're about the same. I'm thinking this. I'm just doing little swirls, and that's all I'm doing for his cheeks. So that's him. Do her. So take some paint. So I've loaded it up quite a lot, and now I'm taking it all out. Especially making sure you don't have any on the sides. And then I'm going to come back in here. These ones are going to go a bit more over the X. I think that's what I did over here. I remember what I did. Let me see. I look at my picture. Sometimes I gotta. All right, yeah. And then I kind of just did. Yeah, I guess I just did on top of the X again. So it might look a little crooked, but it's definitely where I did it. So I'm swirling both ways. I'm going one way and then the other, and just keep doing that. I guess you could kind of try it with a dry Q-tip as well, maybe. I'm not sure. I've never had to, but I know you can get stencil brushes. This is like a 1/4 inch one. Usually they come in a pack. I've had these for years, so they've been used and sat around for quite some time. But okay, so her cheeks are done, just like that. So I'm not going to wash it. Well, yeah, I guess I really don't need it right now. Okay, well, I'll let it sit there. I'll wash it here in a second. Okay, I lied. I went and washed it. You definitely want to make sure it's a dry brush when you are doing this. You don't want it wet at all. Okay, so now we're going to do the eyes. Now, my sample picture is smaller than this one, so I need to figure out. So if you don't have like embossing tools, like these different size bold ends, that's fine. If the spot is big enough that if you had to go in there with a fine tipped brush like this, you could totally do it. And maybe, well, no, they look funny if I don't do them the same. Actually, it doesn't matter. It just gets really hard on my eyes to be able to really focus on getting that whole edge and nice and round, but try it on this one. So, just gonna grab my brush. Definitely want something with a tip, and you don't want to put a whole lot in there because it's easier to load up. Okay, I have to go off camera, guys, because I need to get my head right in here. Okay, so the first one is done. You want to bring it right to the line. It's almost like I gotta go. Okay. It's not good for my eyes, but we're gonna, once we've done one, we kind of got to commit to the other ones, so. You have to wet your brush and dry it off to get a nice, good tip, definitely. But it's definitely better to be a smaller brush than a bigger brush. So these ones are fine. I just got to bring this one a little closer. Okay, so since I did the eyes this way, I'm going to do them on this one. When I go to do these dots for his mouth, I'm just not going to paint them with a brush. It gets too hard to do too many, so I'm going to use my embossing tool. And they're a bit more circles, so it's easier to get a nice dip of the tool, and then it looks more roundish. Even if you had to, you could always use a black, marker, Sharpie, paint pen, whatever you got if you don't want to paint it with a brush. So you do have options. I, however, feel like I need a magnifying glass. Okay. Okay, so that's fine there. I'm going to go put my brush in water, and then I will show you the dot part. Okay, so when you're doing it with an embossing tool, you kind of want to look for one that is similar in size. Like the ball part will probably be wider because it can't touch the whole surface area, but I'm just going to definitely got to make sure you have enough paint so it covers what you need to. So I'm just going to put a little bit in the bottom. Make sure my finger's clean. Okay, so I'm just going to tap this one in here. So I've done that. Now you're going to get more concentration. It's going to be almost sometimes dome-like when you put it on there, but I'm just going to tap. I'm going to do it up here so you can see. So when I tap that, it doesn't tap the full width of the ball. So that is where you need to be looking at. So, and if you were to tap this off and then tap it again, you wouldn't get as wide a dot. And you really need to make sure you're right over the circle. Now I'm not totally centered. I'm not gonna touch it yet, so I'm just, and I re-dip every time. Now while this is close, it does not, I'm going to show you, you can see I still see some of the full circle, or some of the circle that isn't filled in. So what I'm going to do, just to not mess this up, I'm going to get a very fine, because I don't want to dip it again. And I probably could leave this till later, but I still have enough paint here. So if I take a very fine brush and gently swirl that paint to the edge. So you definitely have enough there. I'm gonna have to bring it right in, guys, because I can't. The bristle is the same color as the paint, so that doesn't help. So like when I'm talking fine brush, like that's what I mean. Or you can paint them all by hand, but you want to try and pull that paint to the edge. Just to fill it in a bit more. You might not get it exactly, but it's kind of hard sometimes, but just carefully just get your painted brush in there and just kind of pull it, little movements. Okay, so that's about as close as it's gonna get. Like otherwise I could start getting messy. So I'm gonna let them dry. Once the eyes are dry, then the embossing tools are great for those little, like you can leave it as is. You don't need to put the little white dots in there if you don't want to. You can always use the back of a very, like you can even use a brush like this, like the back of it to do like the little tip. And you can even use a toothpick to do the little teeny tiny one. But you might want to just play with, and for size wise, if you don't have like embossing tools, especially at different sizes. Yeah, so we'll let that dry, and then we'll come in and do those little dots. And then once those dots are fully dry, then we can start to put it together and then add the snow. All right, so I will be back whenever this is dry. See you guys. Okay, so my my eyes are dry right now, so I'm just gonna come in with my embossing tool. So you don't want dots that are too big. Oops, paint all over me. Because it might look funny. So I'm just gonna grab my tool here for a second, and I'm sure that's how big I want, because you got to realize, you know, you only have so much area. So okay, so I've got my, I don't know, I don't even know what size that is, like a 16th or an 1/8. Anyway, so I'm coming in at the top in the center. Reload. There, now that other one is a little bit wider, so I'm just gonna dab that other one to make it look fairly similar. So I'm just gonna move that one over there for a second while I do, I'm sure I did them both the same. Yeah, okay. And then I come in here. Same thing, 1 and 2. Okay, so that size is done. So I'm just gonna move I guess we can use her. Okay, so I've got one that's even tinier on the other side. So you could almost be like I said, the tip of a toothpick could work. You might have to apply it a couple times, or you can leave the eyes like this, like you don't have to put that little twinkle on the side, but you just want to come in here. Just don't even push too hard. You just want to give it a little tiny, just like that. And so that's why you need to make sure you leave room. And this dot's not too big because you want to be able to come in and put that little dot in there. There. Just like that. And that's gonna dry. And then after we'll come in and I'll have more character once you can get that nose on there. I find that the snowmen just look so weird until they get that nose on. So now I'm gonna let those dry really good and well, because like these ones can be still, they're dry on the surface. I can tell that, but because they're so thick, they're most likely still wet underneath. So I'm gonna let those dry. And then we'll put the snow on when we put it together. I know I did that the first time, put it together and then added the snow. You probably could do it either way, but I think putting it together, you have to be a bit more careful, but that's okay. We'll do it that way. And yeah, so I'll be back in a little bit. All right, see you. Okay guys, I'm back. So everything is dry. It's been sanded already, so I didn't have to do that on camera. So I've sanded everything smooth, distressed it, whatever it is that you want to do. And now it's time to put things together. So when I did the snow, I had already put this together. And so you just have to be careful in some areas when you're putting it on. So you could decide whether or not you want to do it on when it's assembled or disassembled, but I did mine assembled, so you can watch that, or you can find out if you want to do it the other way. So okay, so now we're just going to start to put this together, and so I just peeled off the back and I'm just placing her nose on there, trying to figure out where I want that. I think that's pretty close to where I want it to be. Trying to look at my sample one. Okay, so that's good. So we're just lining up on the score marks now. So she has the 3 stained hearts. So if lined up properly, you won't see any of that score mark. So just place those. Oops. And this one too, missed it over. Hold on a sec. Okay, I had to pull the top one off because I had a shadow and I didn't realize that I had a line there from the score mark. So and I'm gonna give me 2 seconds. I just gotta check something. Okay, yeah, I sanded my heart a little bit too much, or sometimes the glue is a little weak in the wood and it just pulled off the first layer, but it's at the bottom and it's not really all that noticeable, so I'm not worried there. Sometimes you just gotta go with what it does. All right. So, same thing, just lay it on top, check to make sure you don't see any score marks, and once you're good, then just push it in place. Okay, so that one's good for now. This one will go here, but I like to get the scarf on first, and then decide where I want to tuck that under. Okay, so this one I just sanded on the legs, and then make sure, you know, if you're doing this, make sure it's clean. You don't want to get anything on your Snowman, and usually these bigger areas tend to be the ones that are a little bit difficult to peel back. So if you find that your adhesive is lifting, just roll this back, give it a good rub, and then continue on. If you peel some of the adhesive off, you can always just replace it with some glue. Okay, so that one actually worked fairly well. So lay it on top, line up all those edges because this top area will match exactly. Okay, I think we're good. So I'm going to give that a press. And I'm going to go wash my hands. Okay, so next I'm just going to work my way down. So I'll do the buttons. Now if you want to watch the way, the direction of the crisscross. So you can do it up and down, or you can do it so it's on the diagonal. Whichever way you like. Well, I guess I forgot to put his nose on, and his hat brim, so I'll just come back. Okay. I forgot everything. I kind of just jumped right over that, didn't I? Okay, so this guy goes on there. And I'll do the nose first. And let's see where I want to set that. Just kind of lay it over and see. I think that's kind of where I had it the last time, so we should be good. Okay. And let's do this one. Okay, go back up here. This one's really tough to see, but it's also like 9 o'clock at night right now, so it's not the best light in my room. Oops. So I'm gonna just go check in a different room. I'll be right back. Okay, we're good there. So down at the bottom, we'll have 3 layers for his boots. Definitely make sure that edge is lined up, more so than on the top here. Okay. So that is done there. Now we've got to do the, and I'll leave this one till after. So I did a splatter as well as the snow, and I just want to get that on there. I'll come back and glue this one on in a second. I want to do my splatters first and then do my snow. So to do the splatters, you can use your stiff brush, that, like if you had your stencil brush, something that's stiff, something you can just flick at it. It doesn't have to be a stencil brush. You just want something that you can just easily flick on those bristles. So I gotta get some water, and we're gonna need our white paint. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, well I should have left my paper towel, but I took it, so I'm just gonna use this one. Okay, so I guess make sure you're doing this somewhere where you're not worrying about getting a bit of paint splatter. I mean, you're not going nutso, but you will get a little bit all over. So just grab your white paint. You won't need much, so you can probably just use it off the lid. So make sure your brush is wet, but then take all that extra water. I'm just gonna dip it again, but I also want to dip it in some white paint. And I also want to dilute it a bit. So you're kind of just getting a diluted white paint splatter. You kind of just have to play and figure out the strength of your white paint when you do that. So here we go. And you're going to go all over. Don't matter, because remember, this is like snow, so you're getting it everywhere. You can let it go on his face, on the feet. Definitely that's why you want to get that stand on, because you want to splatter that too. Whoa, good catch, Laura. All right. So you don't have to go that far, so you really shouldn't get a whole lot of paint everywhere. So I need to reload. So I'm just gonna put a little water, a little paint, blot it off, and start small, and then if it's too strong or whatever, you can always dab it off or whatever. So that one got a little crazy, but it'll make more sense once you get your snow on here. So all right, so I think I am okay with that. I guess you can overdo it, I suppose, but you know what? If you're in a snowstorm or outside, you're gonna have white spots all over you. So I think I'm okay with all of that. Okay, so nothing fancy there, just doing a little splattering. All right, I'm gonna go wash this brush really quick, and then I'm gonna show you how to put that snow on. Be right back. Okay, so grab your snow, and you don't want a very big brush because you need to be able to just kind of tap it on. It'll dry hard, but sometimes it can be a little finicky trying to place it on where you just kind of tap it on. So I'm gonna use my little tiny brush here. So I'll start on the nose here for a second. I get really close. So I'm just coming in here and kind of tapping it. It wants to fall off at first sometimes because it's just that type of medium, just it's gritty, not gritty, but it's definitely, you know, so if I push it, it wants to push its way down. So you might have to just go back in there, wipe it off the edge, and then get it closer to the top of the brush, and then just keep placing it on there and building it up. So you just got to watch where you're going, because if you're tapping right there, you might get it on her eye. So you just want to work with small amounts and just kind of tap and drag it along that edge. Now if you get some where you don't want it, just try and get it off as quickly as possible. It is water based, so you can wash your brush out after, but at first it doesn't want to stick, but once it's in place and dries, it is fairly hard. So see, it wants to get caught in there, and I don't really want it in the back part. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just coming in here, same with the hearts. I'm just gonna kind of get it on here, kind of tap and pull. Her body's a bit more forgiving, but I don't want it like, I don't want it too far back on the burnt edge, but that's just me. So if you don't care as much, then, you know, that's fine. Just don't want it all blobbed in the back. I want it more towards the front. So you've got some there, and I can't remember where I put it all, but I know some of it doesn't get seen underneath the scarf, so I can't remember if I stuck much on this side or not. As long as you can create some texture with it, it just helps it look, well, it's snow, right? So you just want to kind of tap it on there. If you need a toothpick, you can use that too to get in some of those spots. Anyway, so that's probably, I'm going to leave that for now. I guess if I need to put more on, I can always come back after this layer is dry and you can build up more, because once it's dry, it's really hard. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one. So this one I did a bit on the top of the hat, so I'm going to just kind of tap it in there. Kind of squish it in there. Don't want it down that far, but kind of stipple it in there. Okay, so the one that I found to be a little bit of a challenge was the brim of the hat, because I didn't want it to be, I didn't want it to get the main part of the hat dirty, so that's where you're definitely going to have to play with the top part of your brush and make sure you're constantly loading it back up. And once it hits there, if you needed to wipe it off, it does start to, you know, it colors the black, so just gotta, not even sure this is the best brush, but try one other brush. I'm going to try my really fine pointy one. Not sure that will work, but let's just play. It's got, maybe I can get in there a little bit more. So just try. I mean, this, I've got two brushes going here, and you might even want a toothpick around so that if you have to get into any of these spots to get something out, or okay, a little bit more in the middle here. Okay, good enough for now. Just want to create some texture. Okay, now we got to do his nose. Every once in a while you might have to give that, stir this just in case it gets a little dry from being open. That might be way too much. Whoops. See what I mean? Okay, hold on. Hold on. I said I needed a toothpick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got some on here. I know it's white on white, but I don't want that there, so. Okay, so his nose and then a little bit on the heart and on the button. So, and then his feet too. Okay, so. Top of his buttons. Whoops. Just gonna let that fall. You just gotta press it into place and then mold it. Let's see if I can get this stuff. I think it's starting to dry too much. Whoops. So I might need to keep that lid closed. I don't know. I had a big container at first, so. Whoops, way too much on there now. Okay, so now the bottom of the feet I did on the top of the curve of the boots. So that's another area you gotta watch so you're not painting too much of that back surface. Oops, oh yeah, that's way too much. Okay, let's see, do this down here. Just gotta have some patience. I know sometimes it just wants to lift off, but you gotta kind of tap and move it around and tap it in place some more and scrape the sides and whatever it takes to get it to stick. All right, I think that's, if I want any more, you can always just add once it's dry, because like I said, you can, once it's on there, it's not going anywhere. You can always come in, you just need to give it time to dry. So for now, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna get my brushes in water and I'll come right back. Okay, so while that's drying, you can always glue it. No, well, yeah, I guess I can glue it. I'm just gonna grab some glue. I'm not gonna do the one on the female until I know I can turn her on her front. Hold on. There we go. All right. I'm just gonna put some on there. And because he's not, like the other one doesn't fit completely in that slot, you should just be able to line up the bases and you'll be fine. Just be careful if you're doing this when your snow is still wet. You don't want to touch it. And then it can just sit here and dry. Make sure that it's on a place where they will not, make sure you're on a level surface so they don't slide unless you sit here and hold them for a moment. Okay, I'm just gonna set that one back there for a sec. So like I said, I'm not gonna add these on. Frosty's for him, Burr's for her, until they are dry. However, we can always prep our ribbons. So these used to be bigger, 2.5 inch, and oh shoot, we cut them in half. So what you're gonna do, I'm trying to look for my good scissors, is you're gonna come in here and cut this gold part off, and don't worry about them fraying, and same with this side. You're gonna cut the wired part off because we want them to fray a bit so it looks like a textured scarf kind of. So I gotta go look for some good scissors. Yeah. Or let's try these. I'm not sure how well they'll cut. Oh, I guess it'll take me a minute. So just cut as close as you can to that gold trim. So sometimes if you can't find what you need, like I was hunting for fabric or skinnier ribbon, I found what I wanted in a big one, so then we just cut them and then cut them in half. So and same with this one. I'm just going to come in here and cut as close as I can. Not very straight, but once you get it tied, it's really not gonna matter too much. Okay, so that one is done too. So like I said, you're gonna start losing some pieces here, and that's fine. We can cut them off. So once that's dry, we're gonna tie those scarves around, trim them up, and then we will add their tags, and then they will be done. So she gets the patterned one, he gets this one, and for me, I will leave this overnight because it's about 9 o'clock, and I will continue with the video the next day, and we'll get it all finished up. All right, guys, I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye. Okay, guys, I'm back. It's the next day, and my snow is hard and dried on there. So now it is time to get onto our ribbons. So I'm just going to start with the female one since she's laying here on my table. So I'm just going to get it even and just tie it off to the side here. That's kind of where, whoops. And your pieces are going to start to fray a little bit, which is totally fine. So actually, when I think about this, you're going to want your right side longer than your left side, so that way when you pull it there a little bit closer, I think that's just what I did. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, you want them to get all pinched off there, and come back and do another one. Hold on. Just gonna trim some of these as I go so they're not in my way. I don't know. Okay, that should work. So make sure you tie it really tight. Oh, this one's got some. Okay, let's try this again. So just kind of pull on the ribbon so it's kind of staying down, and then you can just keep trimming. Once you stop playing with this, it usually stops fraying so much, but okay, so that's that one. She's got the burr, so I'm gonna come in here and kind of tuck it underneath, but not too far so it's up into her face. You kind of want to hide that end underneath the ribbon, but you want it to stick out a little bit so you can see it. So I'm just kind of angling it so you can still see the words. The top of my knot kind of hides where that's going, and now I'm gonna trim it off with a dovetail And here, I wish I had better scissors. Anyways, hold on. I might, I just don't, whatever. Okay, so I'm putting them both together. You can decide what length you want based on your ribbon. I'm just gonna put them both together, and I'm gonna fold it so there's a fold down the center of the ribbon, and then you're gonna go from the inside, so from the fold side out, you're gonna angle down so that the ends are longer than the middle. There, so you can see, and they would be a little bit more pointy, but because of the type of ribbon and the fact that it wants to fray, it's going to not give you a true point, but it finishes off that end. So you can come in here with better scissors. I have better ones at the store, but you can clean up your ends. Like I said, once you stop playing with it, it won't keep fraying. So that's her there. I'm just gonna flip this over, and we're gonna grab this piece here, and we're going to glue that on. Now I'm gonna pull this off. Definitely make sure that they fit in there. I did check them all, so it should be fine. So grab some glue. Stuff gets pretty hard. There we go. And just add a little bit. And then just place that in the center, the bottom there, and just let it dry. Definitely make sure this bottom part is even there, and then just eyeball it. So I'm just gonna let that sit off to the side and dry while I tie this guy's scarf. So same thing, just gonna come in here. I'm gonna make my right side a little longer. And then do another one. And pull really tight, and then twist that ribbon so I can try and lay a bit flatter like a scarf. And same thing with the frosty tag. Just peel off that back and then kind of tuck it, that blunt end, so when the scarf hangs down, the knot is kind of covering it a bit better. So there we go. Okay, so same thing with this. We're gonna trim those ends. I really don't like these scissors. Hold on, I'm gonna look again. Okay, another pair. I'm not sure how well they cut, but so same thing. You're going to stack them together. You're going to fold them in half. And then you're going to go from the middle, the folded side, out, and you're going, you're creating the length in the outer part, so from the top down. So that one you can see a little bit better what it looks like, because it's doesn't fray quite as badly as the other one, but, and then you can just trim those. Okay, so he is done. Set him there, and I'm going to come back with this one and grab this piece. Now I can't remember if I adjusted the angle on one side. I think I did, to sit it up a little bit higher, so sometimes I just gotta play with it. So, and depending on where you force this thing to slide, it can sit up a little bit higher, but I think that one's fine. So yeah, just stick it in there. If you want to put some glue in there once you're fine, then it's not going to come out. So otherwise, they're all done. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, bye.